All right, guys, let's see how to write the simplest Kotlin program using IntelliJ. Now, Kotlin is basically Java, right? It's Java with some extensions to make it type safe. So if you know Java, you're already most of the way there. So go ahead and start your IntelliJ IDE, and we'll say new project. Stick with IntelliJ as your build system for now. We're going to be using Gradle as our build system in Android. When we get closer to Android, I'll talk more about that. For right now, IntelliJ. And if you do not have JDK, right, maybe because it's the first time you're running this, just go and say download JDK. And that's pretty much all we need to do. So go ahead and click on create. Now for today, we just want to keep it really simple. So let's make a couple of simple programs. Notice here when I got started, it gave me a sample program to get me going. So a couple of things to observe. There is your function main, fun main, lowercase m. That must be in every program, right? That is the point when you run your program. So if we go here to run, it's compiling down there. Keep your eye on the status bar. So that is your output window, sort of like in Visual Studio Code, we have an output window, and that's how things are going there. So I'm going to pause the video and give you a couple of seconds to reproduce this by yourself, and then once you got that going, you can play around, right? You can modify here some of the values and so on, but that, once you can do that, you can just keep piling on top of it. So pause the video now and go and get this happening by yourself. Now that you got your basic program running, let's look at a few more coding examples, right? We're not going to do too much theory explaining on them right now. I just want you to, first of all, put your hands on Kotlin in IntelliJ, and second of all, just see some of the things we're going to be doing. So if you go here to page 4 of your notebook, there's some code. Let's copy and paste that over. And you're familiar with the basic Java formulations, just like in Java, we're importing Kotlin libraries. In fact, in some of our classes, we're going to see how we can import Java libraries to provide functionality from a Java class and consume it inside our Kotlin program. So there's our function main, which is what's kicking the soccer ball and getting it going. And here's a little sort of set of basic programming calisthenics, which exercises you through all the basic for loops and while loops and assigning variables and variable comparisons and so on. So let's try running that. So let's save and run. Anyway, just step through that, take a look, and if you have a printer, maybe print it out and just make yourself familiar with how we are setting up our flow of control in Kotlin. All right, I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to get that going by yourself. Pause your video, get coffee if necessary, join me back here, and we'll see something else. All right, guys, let's do a final third activity right now in today's video lesson, which is object-oriented programming. Now, in this case, we're going to continue to work in our main function because that's where the ball always starts, right? That's what kicks the soccer ball and gets it running. In this case, we're going to create some objects and we're going to call methods on those objects to make them do use cases. Now, in this case, to keep it simple, I'm defining my classes inside my main.kt file. A more completely correct way to do it, which you'll do in your assignments, is you're going to make separate files to contain your class definitions in. Anyway, for right now, let's join each other here on the bottom of page 7. So grab that code right there. So let's save and run. And there you see your code is running and each method is outputting some values. So we'll figure out what this works later. So there's the dot accessor notation like we saw in JavaScript, and we'll dig more into these. But right now your job is to just get the code running and become familiar with how IntelliJ works. That's enough of an accomplishment for today. I suppose we have time to squeeze one more in. So let's add this final topic, which is putting each class in its own file. This is an essential complexity management mechanism as we get into more complex programs. So first of all, we're going to create our Kotlin file. So we're going to right click and say new Kotlin class, and we're going to initially make person.kt. So join me and do that. So it's just telling me because of my antivirus, it's saying that I should tell my antivirus to exclude my project folders from being scanned because antivirus programs get nervous when they see active code. They think it's malware. So if your antivirus encourages you to do that, just go ahead and do so. All right, let's go to our source. So start to make your eyes and your brain familiar with what our project structure looks like here. So right click, new, Kotlin class. So I'll press enter to accept that. And I think I also have car class, so I'll go ahead and make that at this point. And remember, main is where your main function is going to live, so that's pretty important. That will be the driver, and these will be kind of the support classes. All right, let's go and dump our contents in there now. So there's person. And you can see it's much easier to understand what's going on now that we just have this one file. It's not part of a larger program. So we have our constructor to make a person object, and we have simply one method here, which is introduce. And here in our constructor, we're creating object instance variables, which are name and age, right? Those are being, that's actually called injection, field injection being constructed, being created by a method. All right, so let's go and dump that in now. and car. So we have a drive function and a start engine function. And in our constructor, we're passing in make and model. And now look here, this is field composition. We're making the driver to be a data attribute of our car class. So this is field composition. So by doing this, all of the data attributes and methods of the person class are now available to be used in the car class through field injection, through field composition with the person class. I think I copied person in there before. That code shouldn't be there, of course. That should be in the person file. So there's car. That's what happened to my person. Maybe I erased it. Let's go back and put person in. Let's make sure that everything is proper. So there's our person and there's our car. Don't forget, now we need to put some logic here to instantiate and to do the method choreography. That is to create the objects and then set up the method calls between them. So let's do that now. So here on page 12 is our main file. Since person and class, car classes are defined separately, Kotlin's default package visibility allows them to be used here without explicit imports if they're in the same package. If they were in different packages, we would have to do import statements. All right, so let's grab that code. And let's save everything and give it a spin. Now you see there, my terminal window was not visible. When I clicked on run here, that made my terminal window visible. And now we see how the objects are interacting with each other. Once again, it's a good enough accomplishment for right now to just get this up and going, make it work, make yourself familiar with the mechanics, and we'll talk about the details later. And get this going now and ping me on Slack and just let me know that you got it going. All right, guys, have a nice weekend. We'll see you in class next week.